Hello, and welcome to Beauty Will Save the World. Here I have in my hand The Eagle's Nest by John Ruskin. It's one of the most beautiful books in my collection. I got it secondhand, and you can see it's very rusty, but still very strong. I like this golden sheen on the edges. Um, so this is the second, I think, of a collection of books by John Ruskin that I have. The first one I got was the complete volumes of modern painters, which I'm still in the middle of reading. It's not a book you take really quick. Take your time with it. This, on the other hand, it's a lighter read than Modern Painters. It's a series of lectures that he gave in Oxford as the professor of drawing in Oxford. And John Ruskin, for me, is like one of the best art critics ever. Not only from the Victorian age, but even to date. The passion by which he defends art and teaches it and convinces you of its importance and encourages you to fall in love with it just as much as he did. I think that's one of the best lessons any art teacher out there could give. Skill can be, practiced and taught, but the love, if you don't have the love, you're not going to practice it. So that's one thing that I really admire John Ruskin for, that it makes you fall in love with the art. And that's the best service any art teacher could give a student. So when I was reading it, I got to this passage where he quotes a line from Shakespeare, A Midsummer's Night Dream. And he says, he puts a lot of value on that line and it sort of makes it the emblem of his whole philosophy of art. And so I will read it, and then maybe we can also get the context of it from A Midsummer's Night Dream, and then I'll do another excerpt from this same book of a sort of conclusion on the state of art and imagination and the peace and the love and the contentment that are the fruits of a life wholly committed to art. So, in page 4 of this, one of his lectures titled Relation of Wise Art to Wise Science. In this, he says, he quotes this line in capital: "The best in this kind are but shadows." That is Shakespeare's judgment of his own art, and by strange coincidence, he has put the words into the mouth of the hero whose shadow or semblance is marble. It is admittedly the most ideal and heroic we possess of man. Yet I need not ask you whether of the two, if it were granted to you to see the statue of Phidias or the hero Theseus himself, you'll choose rather to see the capstone or the living king. Do you recollect how Shakespeare's Theseus concludes his sentence spoken of the poor tradesman kindly offered art in A Midsummer's Night Dream? The best in this kind are but shadows, and the worst are no worse if imagination amend them. It will not burden your memories painfully, I hope, though it may not advance you materially in the class list. If you will learn this entire sentence by heart, being as it is a faultless and complete epitome of the laws of mimetic art. So I think the old book, that's the only phrase that I think he has told the students to try and remember and memorize in this whole entire book. So makes it like quite an interesting and important sentence to him. Uh, so I have with me here the complete works of Shakespeare. It's a big volume. See, very big volume. I acquired it a few months ago, and I'm very proud of it. And it's convenient for me to read all the plays in one go, then buy all the different copies. I mean, we should be a bit more, easier to carry, and but not very economic. So this is economic. I get everything under one roof. Although you can carry it around or read it in the train or in the bus. So just the context from which we get that few lines from A Midsummer's Night Dream. A Midsummer's Night Dream is one of the comedies composed by Shakespeare, one of his plays. So one of the characters that he has is driven from Greek mythology of Theseus. If you remember the Greek hero who slaughtered the Minotaur, and by the guidance of his sweetheart Hippolyta. So in this play, Theseus and Hippolyta are king and queen and duly wed, and in their it's called wedding or some sort of celebration of their matrimony or something like that. Play is staged, and instead of acquiring like really professional and experienced actors for this play, they have acquired just the ruffians, the rustic populace. It's just one of the few people from the street. One of them is they're like craftsmen, to play these parts, and I think Theseus, the king, is quite obliging, and understands that the play is offered kindly and with good intention, even though the execution of it is not quite professional and as beautiful execution as would expect of professional performers. But Theseus sort of becomes the John Ruskin in the play by making such a good case for art, the mimetic arts. Remember, in an earlier episode in this channel, I did a sort of feature on Plato and how he wanted all the poets to be kicked out of his ideal republic because he thinks representative or mimetic arts might deceive or might teach people to be untrue or rile up false passions in them. And for me, like after Plato, I think all aesthetic or art critics who've tried to make a case for art have always been counter-arguing Plato or making submissions against his assertion. So Theseus in Act 5, Scene 1, he says, the wife Hippolyta says that it's strange, my Theseus, that these lovers speak of. So in the play is sort of very interactive. The audience are always interrupting the flow of the play, and the players themselves keep asking each other if they're doing the right thing or commenting on the others' delivery. It's all chaos, but still Theseus tries to be entertained and get something from this. And so I read first this part which comes before our proclaimed sentence. More strange than true, I may believe, these antique fables, nor these fairy toys. Lovers and madmen have such seething brains, such shaping fantasies that apprehend more than cool reason ever comprehends. The lunatic, the lover, and the poet are of imagination all compact. One sees more devils than vast hell can hold. That is the madman, the lover, all as frantic, sees Helen's beauty in a brow of Egypt. The poet's eye, in a fine frenzy rolling, doth glance from heaven to earth, from earth to heaven, and as imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shapes, and give to airy nothing a local habitation and a name. Such tricks hath strong imagination, that if it could but apprehend some joy, it comprehends some brighter, some bring of that joy, or in the night imagine some fear. How easy a bush, supposed a bear. So it tries to say that this imagination can bring forth from the unreal and imagined world, but the passions that they bring forth will be just as real as something that was inspired by a true reality and things we can see and touch. So the poet's work is to turn the shapes and give the airy nothing a local habitation and a name. So I think for me, like since of all the Shakespeare's plays I've heard, I mean that's like the best sort of case I've had made for the mimetic arts. And Plato himself will blush to agree with that. So then we go to the part whereby he makes the claim of the best of this kind are but shadows. I think Hippolyta was like very impatient with these untrained and rustic players upon the stage. And all the time, Theseus, the husband, tries to bring her back and try to make her enjoy the art in it, despite its unpolished execution. So she says, "This is the silliest stuff that I ever heard." But Theseus answers, "The best in this kind are but shadows, and the worst are no worse, if imagination amend them." So that, right together with his first monologue, sort of tries to give us, the place of imagination in all this, and vis-a-vis reality, and what is reality anyway, and the mimetic arts, and in the place of reality, and how imagination brings forth its own world, which can give us true sensations. So I'll go back to the eagle's nest and conclude by giving one of my favorite passages from the eagle's nest, which I will read with a lot of animation, since I can't help myself. But it is so good. It's from one of the lectures gave the story of the Holicon. I mean, this is some birds. He says they are very popular in Greek mythology, and in they build their nests on the sea, and even when the rough waves come, the you know the sort of nests are not blown apart. So they know when the sea is still and when it's rough, and how to survive and how to build their nests. So this sort of peace that comes after the storm, the wisdom of calm. But I want to read the old lecture, the story of the Holicon. But I suppose I should just introduce a bit. It's quite a long lecture, really, the story of the Holicon. Okay, let's see. Okay, in paragraph 179, he says, I have no time today to push my argument farther, but I've said enough, I think, to induce you to bear with me in the statement of my main theorem, that reading and writing are in no sense education, unless they contribute to this end of making us feel kindly towards all creatures. But that drawing, and especially physiological drawing, is vital education of a most precious kind. Further, that more good would be done by any English nobleman who would keep his estate lovely in his native wildness, and let every animal live upon it in peace that choose to come there, than will be done, as matters are going now, by the talk of all lords in Parliament, as long as we live to listen to them. So I'll go straight to the concluding paragraphs of this lecture that covers my main interest, and the conclusion of our aesthetic theory, in this case John Ruskin's aesthetic theory, and his praise for art's sake. So he says, that's paragraph 2 or 3 of the story of the Holicon. What are we good for? Are even our machines of distraction useful to us? Do they give us real power? Once, indeed, not like helicons, but like sea eagles, we had our homes upon the sea, fearless alike of storm or enemy, winged like the wave petrel. And as Arabs of an indeed pathless desert, we dwelt in the presence of all our brethren. Our pride is fallen, no reed shaken with the wind. Near the little singing helicon's nest is more tremulous than we are now. Though we have built iron nests on the sea with walls impregnable, we have lost our pride. But have we gained peace? Do we even care to seek it? How much less strive to make it? Have you ever thought seriously of the meaning of that blessing given to the peacemakers? People are always expecting to get peace in heaven. But whatever peace they get there will be ready-made. Whatever making of peace they can be blessed for must be on the earth here, not the taking of arms against, but the building of nest amidst its sea of troubles. Difficult enough, you think? Perhaps so. But I do not see that any of us try. We complain of the want of many things. We want votes. We want liberty. We want amusement. We want money. Which of us feels or knows that he wants peace? There are two ways of getting it if you do want it. The first is wholly in your own power to make yourself nests of pleasant thoughts. Those are nests on the sea indeed, but safe beyond all others. Only they need much art in the building. None of us yet know, for none of us have yet been taught in early youth what fairy palaces we may build of beautiful thought, proof against all adversity. Bright fancies, certified memories, noble histories, faithful sayings, treasure houses of precious and restful thoughts, which care cannot disturb, nor pain make gloomy, nor poverty take away from us. Houses built without hands for our souls to live in. And in actual life, let me assure you in conclusion, the first wisdom of calm is to plan and resolve to labor for the comfort and beauty of a home, such as if we could obtain it, we would quit no more. Not a compartment of a model lodging house, not the number so and so of Paradise Row, but a cottage of all our own, with its little garden, its pleasant view, its surrounding fields, its neighboring stream, its healthy air, and clean kitchen, parlors, and bedrooms. Less than this, no man should be content with for his nest. More than this, few should seek. But if it seem to you impossible or wildly imaginary that such houses should ever be obtained for the greater part of the English people, again, believe me, the obstacles which are in the way of our obtaining them are the things which it must be the main object now of all true science, true art, and true literature to overcome. Science does its duty, not in telling us the causes of spots in the sun, but in explaining to us the laws of our own life and the consequences of their violation. Art does its duty not in filling monster galleries with frivolous or dreadful or indecent pictures, but in completing the comforts and refining the pleasures of our daily occurrence and familiar service. And literature does its duty not in wasting our hours in political discussion or in idle fiction, but in raising our fancy to the height of what may be noble, honest, felicitous in actual life, in giving us, though we may ourselves be poor and unknown, the companionship of the wisest fellow spirits of every age and country, and in aiding the communication of clear thoughts and faithful purposes among distant nations, which will at last breathe calm upon the sea of lawless passion and change into such helicon days the winter of the world, that the birds of the air may have their nests in peace, and the Son of Man where to lay his head. Thank you, and welcome to B2 Save the World. Like and subscribe. Joan Ruskin and A Midsummer's Night Dream. The best in this kind are but shadows, and the worst are no worse if imagination amend them.